Hi Kules, welcome back to the channel. I just want to notify you guys that I am recording this outside, so if you hear the wind moving or any birds, just imagine yourself it's the Pat McAfee show, alright? But what a performance from Barcelona, especially since the first water break in the first half where we actually dominated Vallecano, right? They were actually a good team, but some key changes too from Mr. Hansi Flick actually swayed this game in Barcelona's favor. As always guys, please do subscribe to the channel. It's going to help us a lot to get this family to go bigger. We upload weekly Barcelona content only. In the build-up phase, Barcelona, as always, would look to split the centre-backs on either side of the Stegen, and Vallecano pressed in a lopsided front three, right? They waited for the ball to go to the centre-back before they actually would go into a press. The ball would then go outside to the full-back, drawing a player out of position where they would try to look and find Rafinha in the half space. Or, because of the line-breaking passes we normally see from Cubarsí, he would want to go straight to Lewandowski. I really love how wide our centre-backs are, right, which push up all the full-backs to the front. And look at how Bernal is actually the single pivot. And man, that injury does not look good. I think he might have torn his ACL, right? And look at how Yamal is in the half space, and Kunde actually goes back to Cubarsí, and Cubarsí can now actually find that pass right straight into Yamal. And look at how Lewandowski is dropping, and I think Robert Lewandowski wasn't really involved in this game in the first half, that because he didn't get to do this often. The reason why Vallecano was so successful is because of the wide center backs, right? That push up the fullbacks up very high, leaving the wings open, meaning that if Vallecano could really turn over the ball in these areas, their wide players would really attack these spaces, and they would look to express themselves and actually get numbers into the box and look to cross and get on to goal. Rayo permanently looked to get into these areas, and I think this is going to be quite a problem against the bigger teams that has better passes and better wingers to exploit these areas against Barcelona. They permanently look to get in behind Koundé and Gerard Martin. And like I said, this is something that Flick really needs to work on, because this is going to be really easy for the bigger teams. Another way Rayo got up the pitch is they know that Barcelona have the 4-2-2 situation, but instead of them playing around this pressure right here, looking to get up the pitch, which I don't understand because I think they do have quality players, they would just go straight from the goal kick long and try to win the ball and then get into areas and normally have 2-on-1 situations against Koundé, where they would look to get in behind and get into these areas. And they actually scored a goal from a situation like that, where they would look to get in good areas and then score. We are seeing this 4-2-2 situation with Lewandowski joining Rafinha and then Ferran Torres and Lamine Yamal up top. We are seeing this consistently, so this might be the system for Barcelona, right? But look at how Bernal has to come over in order to press Issy Palathon. If he does not do that, then Palathon and this fullback would be 2-on-1 against Koundé. Higher up the pitch, Barcelona still encouraged his wide centre-backs to draw players out of position, and then we would actually see one of Pedri and Rafinha coming into these areas consistently to receive the ball just next to Marc Bernal. And that is how they would get up the pitch. And we also saw that Ferran and Lamine came in the half spaces to draw these guys narrow, and we're going to talk about this in a second. Here we see that the centre backs are fairly nice and wide, and I like this. And I think from this weekend onwards, this is going to become real effective for Barcelona, right? Because we're going to see a lot of spaces open up. And look at how Koundé is drawing this player out of his position. And like I said, if you draw players, then you're going to leave the likes of Lamine and Rafinha, you're going to give them those half spaces. And you look at Inigo, the same thing, right? So that player is opening up the wing for Gerard Martin. And I actually agree, and I think we need a left winger, right? And look at how the striker is drawn out and the space for Gerard Martin. Imagine if we had like a Nico Williams. And I apologize, we do need a left winger. This is really the stat that amplifies why Barcelona was not in control of the first 30 minutes. And you can see there 64%. So we couldn't get Pedri enough on the ball. But that all changed in the second half when Flick actually tells Bernal to drop to the left-hand side and not to the right-hand side. This now had Ferran, Lewandowski and Rafinha close together, and there was a real fluidity and movement among these players, which caused all sorts of problems for Vallecano. And they actually came extremely narrow in order to counter and cope with this problem. And we even saw that Lamine Yamal was also somebody that can come into these areas. And we talked about this where Flick wants him to receive the ball here. And that left acres of space for the likes of Koundé to actually take advantage of this. And so many players central mean that Barcelona could now have the gegenpressing on as well, which would, if we lose the ball, then we have a lot of players centrally that can really take care of this ball. And this is how Barcelona gain control. In this frame right here, we see that Bernal is over on the left-hand side with Pedri dropping onto the ball in his position. And look at how Varane and Lamine Yamal came narrow. And look how narrow Vallecano actually is. And Yamal, Pedri, and Bernal, like I said, they dropped narrow. And Koundé was in acres of space. I mean, it was just crazy. And look at how Rafinha, Varane, and Lewandowski was just in behind, keeping those centre-backs fairly narrow, which means they had a lot of fluidity going on among them, which would draw them all over the place, right? And you can see 4 players narrow, right? Varane high, look at where's Rafinha, look at where's Pedri. A lot of fluidity going on for Barcelona in the situation right here. In the instances where Rafinha would drop, Lamine Yamal received the ball just here, and him and Koundé would actually go and attack 2 versus 1 against this fullback right here. And Rafinha wasn't scared or shy to overlap actually, right? But we did see that Flick later on noticed that when Pedri used to switch the ball, it is actually Jules Koundé that would receive it. So he swapped the positioning of Koundé and Lamine around. So when Lamine would go into these areas right here, you would see Rafinha again looking to overlap as a right back, right? And if these two were blocked on the opening side of the wing, you would see Koundé receive the ball in the half space right there. You can see Lamine is actually in the half space with Koundé overlapping, and there was like 2 or 3 balls that Koundé, he was sloppy, right, when it came into these areas, and we could have done so much more. And you can see Rafinha, of course, overlapping Lamine Yamal in this instance, and look at Koundé running straight through the half space, and he got into good areas. Imagine if that was a Joao Cancelo or whatever. And you can see Lamine receiving the ball wide the switch, and Koundé is just keeping that fullback narrow, which was great play from Barcelona. Like I said, it's gonna get better. Over here, we can clearly see in the average positioning in the first half, you can see Lamine in the half space. And like I said, Flick wants that guy to receive the ball there. And Lamine is going to be dangerous, guys. And look at how Koundé is just overlapping, right? But look at all of the numbers centrally. Like Lewandowski is like a midfielder here. And I think this is the reason why he wasn't getting on the ball that much within the first half, guys. But let me know down in the comment section, what do you think? It's really good signs from the first half that we saw. We're going to analyze, of course, the second half a little bit later on today, or maybe even tomorrow. And there's some exciting signs, guys, from Flick's tactics and his point of view and how he sees things, right? And it's just great play. It's just having these guys in the best position possible, and the verticality is just crazy, and the amount of space that this guy is able to generate with his players over on the wide areas, right? And I think that Rafinha is very essential to this team. You know, a lot of people just still disagree with me, but I think the energy that this guy brings, and I know in the first half he was making a lot of mistakes in terms of misplaced passes and whatever like that, but those are going to start to connect, and he ended up getting an assist that we needed. And his awareness is crazy, and I think he should go out wide to the left wing, and then he almost would play in that 10. And we're going to talk about Dani Olmo a little bit more. Subscribe as always. Thank you.